Oh, hi everyone, I'm Dr. Jill. Welcome back to the Doctored Chef. Today I'm going to be making two types of hummuses. In another video I've done already, I've made some rosemary focaccia bread that you can actually use to serve with this because it's very heart healthy as well. The first hummus I'm going to make is called a roasted garlic and white bean hummus with rosemary oil. And I want to give credit where credit is due. I got this recipe years ago out of this Todd English cookbook and I fell in love with it. It's delicious. It takes a little bit more time than the average hummus, but it's well worth it. And it uses some white cannellini beans, which are basically just white kidney beans, and they have 7.8 grams of fiber per serving. I tweaked it just a little bit because I wanted to give that even more powerful antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effect by adding turmeric to this recipe. Before we get started, go ahead and take a bowl of garlic, drizzle some olive oil on it, put it in some aluminum foil, and bake it in the oven at 400 degrees for about 25 minutes. Beans have a lot of excellent health benefits for the heart, so I'd like to maybe try to convince you today to at least give it a try. A lot of people say they can't digest beans well. The issue with that is it takes a couple of weeks for the enzymes in the gut to form that break down beans, and if you don't eat them all the time, then you're not going to have those enzymes there all the time. The other thing is to make sure not to combine beans with a lot of other types of foods like dairy. That's sure to produce a lot of gas. If you're going to eat some beans, try to limit the other intake of dairy or fruit, or try to use vegetables instead. The beans are so healthy and important for the heart because not only because they contain fiber, but they also help lower cholesterol as well as insulin levels. They also contain something called phytosterols, which are in the plant cell membrane and have been shown to lower LDL as well. And if you've seen my Fountain of Youth video, you've probably heard me talk about the importance of antioxidants, and they're also important for the heart. Vitamin E and coenzyme Q10 is in the beans, and that helps with stopping the LDL from being oxidized and turning into plaques in the inner lining of the blood vessels. And as a bonus, beans also have B vitamins. Okay, in a saucepan over medium heat, we're going to have 1 tablespoon of olive oil, and then we're going to throw in 1 sliced yellow onion. Then we're going to throw in 3 cloves of pressed garlic, a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin, and a 1/4 teaspoon of that turmeric. We're going to cook this on medium heat for 5 minutes. So turmeric possesses powerful antioxidant as well as anti-inflammatory activity, as I mentioned, and it can lower triglycerides and something also called CRP in the body, which is an inflammatory marker for heart disease. So when you have heart disease, the CRP levels are elevated, and that's an elevated risk for having a heart attack. As another bonus, as I mentioned in one of my previous videos about olives, it promotes something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, which helps with memory and keeping the brain useful. And I also talked about garlic and onions, which contain sulfur. And sulfur is important in the production of glutathione, which is a powerful antioxidant. I can't overstate how important the antioxidants and anti-inflammatory type foods are for heart health. So we're going to let this cook for 5 minutes here on medium heat, and I'm just kind of stirring it up a little bit. This is smelling really good, and here are those white kidney beans, or the cannellini beans I was telling you about. We're going to add 2 cans of rinsed cannellini beans to this now, and we're going to actually turn the heat down to low. And now we're also going to add 1 cup of water and 3 bay leaves. And we're going to let this come to a boil, and then we're going to go ahead and turn it down to medium for 5 minutes. And after 5 minutes on medium, you're going to go ahead and cover it and turn it down to low. And then we're going to actually let this cook until it's thick for about 20 minutes. Okay, so the beans have been cooking for about 20 minutes now, and I have my food processor bowl set up now. We're going to go ahead and put in a tablespoon of olive oil. And then we're going to go ahead and add the juice of 1 lemon. After that, a 1/4 cup of tahini, which is basically just the sesame seed paste, and usually again found in the international aisle at the grocery store. And then 1 teaspoon of salt. I took the garlic out of the little cloves and now we're gonna add it. It smells wonderful. I like the milder flavor and taste of that roasted garlic. And last but not least, we're gonna add the beans that are on the stovetop. So we just took this off the stovetop, and you wanna make sure to remove the bay leaves. And then we're gonna pour it into the food processor, let it cool down for just a minute, and then we're gonna process it until smooth. This is a hummus that you're gonna serve warm. So now I'm gonna go ahead and make that rosemary oil, which is super simple. It's basically 2½ tablespoons of olive oil in a small saucepan. And then we're gonna chop up this rosemary here. 1 to 2 teaspoons of fresh rosemary, chopped. And then we're gonna go ahead and put it in the skillet over low heat. And only do that until it's warm. It doesn't have to cook very long. Okay, so we're gonna set that hummus aside, and I'm gonna turn off that rosemary oil and let it sit on the back burner while I make my second hummus. Okay, the second is the red bell pepper hummus, and this one's super easy, I promise. We're gonna do 1 can of rinsed garbanzo or chickpeas, just a regular sized can. We're gonna do 3/4 of a jar of roasted red bell peppers. These are not rinsed, but they are drained. So that's I'm gonna say about a cup's worth of that. Then we're gonna go ahead and add a 1/4 cup of lemon juice. We're gonna go ahead and also add that tahini. It's a 1/4 cup of tahini or sesame paste. We're gonna add 1 clove of chopped garlic, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, a 1/2 teaspoon of cumin, and a pinch of cayenne. Cumin doesn't want to come out. There we go. And then just a pinch of cayenne pepper, and you can also just adjust the seasoning later. Salt is going to be to taste. I'm going to just add a 1/4 teaspoon now and then add some more if I need to at the end. And we're going to process this until smooth as well. Very vibrant red color. You can see that. And now the taste test. Well, that's definitely got some punch to it. I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil. And then I'm also going to add just about 2 tablespoons of water. And finally, I'm going to add just a little bit more salt as well, another 1/2 teaspoon. And then I'm going to do it one more time, and this should be perfect. And then one final taste. Definitely very zingy. You just got to monitor the salt, whatever it is for you, taste-wise. This is starting to have a little bit too much salt for me, but when you serve this with that focaccia bread, remember that it's not going to be taste quite as salty. Okay, so I have that warm rosemary focaccia bread here, and I made a little bit of that in a different video. You can go back and watch that for serving. And then I've made my two hummuses here. One is the warm white bean hummus, and one is that red bell pepper hummus. So lastly, all I have to do is pour that really nice rosemary oil on top of the white beans that I was telling you about. And you can see how pretty that looks. I'm going to show it to you up close. Just gives it really pretty presentation. So let's try it. It's really nice for a fall meal because it's so warm. And let's try the red pepper one. I think Blackberry wants to try it too. This isn't very zesty. It's kind of the opposite of this one. It's just that punch of flavor. It's very good. And also, you know, you're eating well for your heart.